when you look back at your past, you might feel nostalgia, happiness, embarrassment, or even sadness. You may also feel the urge to do better in the present and maybe in the future. With archives, you may also feel these emotions. It may even awaken something in you or help you understand who you are by giving you memories of the past and the people that once lived. With that, why are the archives worth appreciating? You should appreciate the archives because it provides a corrective for the human memory since it contains records that give an accurate account of what has happened. It also provides you nourishment, especially if you are one of those who are hungry for knowledge. It also protects the records by preserving and securing it so that it will not be tampered or destroyed. The archives may also help you in your research by giving you access to the records that you may find useful. Finally, the archives have the ability to empower the oppressed by promoting accountability, diversity, social justice, and social responsibility. Given that, maybe you feel the urge to visit an archive out of curiosity. But before that, what do you need to know before visiting one? Before visiting an archive, it is essential to know that every archive is different, and they vary based on the materials that they collect, store, and preserve. These types of archives are 1. Academic archives, which collect materials of an academic institution. 2. Government archives, which may be subdivided into national and departmental archives that preserve government records, and public archives, which preserve records about the local heritage. 3. Religious archives, which store materials of religious institutions. 4. Historical societies, which preserve materials about a historical period. 5. Special collections archive that contains materials from an individual or an organization with historical significance. And lastly, the corporate archives, which store the business records of a corporation. Generally, most of these are open to the public. However, there are archives that have varying degrees of public access depending on the institution's policies. So, here are the common collections and services that you may find in each archive. In an academic archive, you can obtain the official records of a university's administrative officials, students, and employees, the materials produced by the students and professors, printed materials such as the official publications of the university, and research materials such as journals and dissertations. In this archive, you can ask the archival staff questions about their policies, history, programs, and services, and you can also request for copies of their documents and other items. Lastly, if you want to learn more about the academe and their collections, you can attend their tours and annual exhibitions. If you want to explore the art and beauty of archiving, you can join their workshops or apply for internships. A government archive is subdivided into departmental and public archives. Hence, their collections and services are different from one another. In the departmental archives, the collections that you can see are the official and financial records of a government agency and legal documents such as contracts and petitions. Here, you can request for access to the possible information sources that you might need and also ask for copies of documents and other items. In a public archive, you can obtain records such as the maps of a town, city, or region, legal documents created in a certain era, and photographs of a town or city during a historical period. Here, you can also request for access to their records and ask for assistance when accessing their information sources. To discover the history of your place or the culture of a city or region, you can attend the guided tours of the public archives near you. In a religious archive, you can find the official and financial records of the institutions within their jurisdiction, and a collection of legal documents such as marriage certificates and death certificates. You can also discover artifacts and photographs that highlight their religion's history. And lastly, you can obtain letters and diaries of notable individuals that belong to their church, as well as architectural drawings of their churches, schools, and offices. In this archive, you can ask the archival staff for assistance when searching the material that you need. You can also attend their education programs if you are interested in a certain religion, their institutions, or a notable person that belongs to their church. In a historical society, you may discover a collection of artifacts that existed during a certain historical period or are owned by an influential person or organization. You can also look at the collection of recipe books created during a certain historical period and also the letters of a notable individual, as well as the collection of maps and sketches of a place or building. Lastly, you can also obtain digitized records that highlight the history of a place, organization, or a notable person. If you want to learn about the history of an organization, a family, or a person, you can attend their educational programs and the talks with various public figures. You can also inquire about their materials and services, as well as request for copies of their documents and items. In special collections archives, you can see fragile and rare books, artifacts, and other items that have a unique value and importance in the study of history, literature, and subjects. You can also obtain interviews, photographs, and recordings that document the lives of prominent individuals and organizations. Here, you can ask archival staff queries regarding the materials that you need in your research. If you want to explore their rare books and other artifacts, you can attend their annual exhibitions or coordinate with the archives for a class visit. Lastly, in the corporate archives, you can acquire a collection of official and financial records of the company, such as bank statements, minutes, and bills. You can also obtain legal documents of the institution and its employees, as well as its audiovisual and printed materials that document the history and developments of a company. In this archive, you can request for copies of their documents and other items. If you want to learn about a certain company, you can ask their archival staff about the history, services, and other information about their corporation. With that, it is important to find and evaluate an archive based on your information needs. And if you have selected an archive that you want to visit, you should look up the services and collections that they offer. You should also read their access and use policies to determine if there are limits to the collections that you can use and access. Lastly, you should never forget to notify the archival staff about the dates of your visit and the materials that you would like to access so that they can accommodate and assist you to the best of their abilities. Hence, we urge you to visit the archives because it will remind you to never forget. It will provide you with records that may help you discover all the horrors that people went through and the lives that were sacrificed just so you can experience the freedoms that you have today. We urge you to visit the archives since it contains a part of us, a part of you. It cultivates your identity and gives representation to the indigenous and marginalized. It tells the story of who you are and how you came to be. We encourage you to use the archives because it enables you to right the wrongs. It corrects your false memories and allows you to create your own narratives by providing you pieces of a memory that is original and unaltered. Finally, we urge you to support the archives because it exists to serve the people. It holds leaders and institutions accountable by allowing us to have access to their records. It advocates and addresses social issues while being transparent and fair by being objective in the records and services that they will provide for the benefit of all. With that, we hope that you can give love and appreciation to it because the archives will never take you for granted.